Hello, folks. Welcome back to Right Way Podcast, where our theme is to take our pain and turn it into power. We have an awesome guest. We're excited about this interview. This brother's a former foster youth, and he's the executive director, founder of Hearts for Sight. He has a great story. He went to two awesome universities, and let's just dive into it. Let's welcome Brother Joseph. Joseph, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How you doing?
I can't complain. First, thank you for your time. Time is very valuable and we don't thank each other enough. So thank you for giving us opportunity and blessing our listeners. So let's start off with who's Joseph?
Yeah, oh well, it's a big question right
Uh-huh.
there.
Uh-huh.
I like to believe I'm a resilient, young Afro-Latino just trying to make it by in this world, despite the unfortunate circumstances that happened to me as a youth. Person who tries to make the most out of the opportunities that are available to me. But not only that, try to make opportunities for other people in similar circumstances. So I'm a giver, I'm a lover, and yeah, just passionate about life, making the most out of it.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm just gonna go into some deep questions. When did you go into the foster care system? Let's go back to that.
Yeah, so um, I was 5 years old when I went into the foster care system. My story was quite unique. I'm from the East Coast. I was born in Lehigh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I grew up in an environment where my mom didn't really have the capacity to provide a nurturing or caring environment for her children. I am one of six um, children that my mom had, all of which ended up in foster care in some capacity. I was fortunate enough to be moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, where I ended up in San Diego with my grandmother at age 5. And shortly after coming to San Diego, I ended up in the foster care system.
Okay. So you moved to San Diego with your grandmother.
Yep,
Okay. So
yep.
she raised you, or did they remove you from her?
I was removed from my grandmother. So my mother, um, we were living in the East Coast, Providence, Rhode Island area, and just some things happened to where my mom was no longer around. So my youngest brother and my younger sister, we were basically stranded and living in one of my mom's friends' houses. And my grandmother caught wind that we were living in this environment. We were going to be sent to Child Protective Services, but my grandmother traveled from San Diego, picked us up, brought us to Florida, and then in a sedan, we drove from Florida to San Diego, where my grandmother, put a little housing situation together for us. And, it didn't take long until CPS was on our radar in San Diego. And, couple months after, moving, I ended up being in the foster care system.
Wow. Is your grandmother still with us?
My grandmother's still with us. She's the heart and soul of my life.
Okay.
I love her to death. I just feel like, as a Puerto Rican lady, not very educated, I think she was pushing a ball up a hill the entire time. Really difficult for her to maintain our family structure. As the She did the best that she could, but there was just a lot of emotional turmoil that I was going through, economic challenges that we were going through as a family. And as a result of many different unfortunate circumstances, I was the first one to be removed from my little family unit.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And then your siblings. So eventually all of you guys were removed. Do you still communicate with your siblings? Were you guys put in
I
separate
do,
homes? Did they?
yeah, I do communicate with my siblings. I have a good relationship with my sister and my younger brother.
Mhm.
Um, my three older siblings still live in the East Coast, Rhode Island, North Carolina, Georgia area, and so I'm not really in touch as
Mhm.
much with my older siblings, because my grandmother um, brought my younger brother and my younger sister to San Diego, and my older siblings were placed in like some kinship care um, on the East Coast. So
Got it.
yeah.
All right. So now you're in the foster care system. How was that experience? You're fully in stranger.
It was it was tough, it was tough, but looking back, um, hindsight's always 2020, but at the time it was devastating. There was a lot of abandonment issues. There's a lot of like feelings of neglect. A lot of those feelings led to emotional disturbances, anger, frustration, lots of outbursts. I just didn't have the coping mechanisms at that young age to deal with all of the crazy stuff that was happening in life.
Right.
Who does at 5, 6 years old,
Right.
right? Like we don't have the mental capacity or the ability to process all of that stress at that young age, and so it reflected in my behavior. And as a result of all of that, I moved around a lot as a young man, as a young boy. Um, I've probably been in about 5 different group home settings. I was never fortunate to experience what it felt like to be in a family unit until I was 16 years old. And if you know foster care, young Black kids aren't getting into foster care families at age 16. That's just not that's not happening. And so I was fortunate to have that experience because one of my foster parent, who's no longer with him, God rest his soul, Monroe Billingsley, was a foster parent, or excuse me, was a group home staff member, who became a foster parent and then took me into his home. And so I was able to um, live there for a few years, and experience what it felt like to have unconditional love and to have a supportive Black person, adult in my life. That was huge for me. It really, I feel it shaped who I am today, just to be able to have that experience with Monroe and his family. But yeah, man, like it was a crazy life, up until that point. And I think mainly one of the reasons why I was so emotionally torn up until about 14 years old was that I always had this belief of reunification with my family, and that never came about. That never manifested itself. And so I was holding on to this sort of like fake belief that one day that my family will eventually come back together and we would, live this fairy tale lifestyle. But that never happened. My mom would go in and out of jail, and every single time she would go back to jail, I felt like my behavior just reverted back to my childhood. And so I let go of that idea at age 14. My mom went to jail for a long, long time, and I knew that she wasn't going to be out for until I was an adult. And at that point, I made some goals for myself and decided, you know what, I'm no longer going to live for other people. I'm going to live for myself and make the most out of my circumstances. And if that means living in this group home until I age out, so be it. I'm still going to make the most out of the opportunities that I have.
That's an awesome story. So you emancipated from San Diego foster care system.
Yeah, yeah. I emancipated from San Diego foster care system. It was a challenge, like I mean, the work
Mhm.
very well. You know, graduating high school, and then going right into being just an adult. A lot of bumps in the road for me. Just trying to figure out life, how to navigate life, trying to take advantage of just the programs and services that were available to foster youth at the time. um, I just didn't have my head on straight because I felt like I didn't know what I was going to do. My goal was like, hey, graduate high school on time, and after that, we were just going to figure things out. And I think that was a struggle for me because I did graduate high school and the plan, okay, go to college, but I didn't know why I was going to college for, so I wasn't motivated like how I'm motivated now. I was just trying to get by, and unfortunately, I got sidetracked and eventually was able to get back on course. But yeah, man, it was a struggle. Graduating and then just trying to figure things out as a young black man in California. Yeah.
So you went to my alma mater, Cal State Dominguez Hills. Did you go to
Yes,
community college?
sir.
So did you go to community college first, or you got right into Dominguez Hills?
I did. Yeah. So I actually I had one stint right out of high school. I went to Palomar College and just failed. I didn't do well at all. But as I said, I wasn't like motivated because I didn't have a goal. I didn't know what I was working towards, and so I ended up becoming academically ineligible. And then at age 24, I realized, you know what? Like, I don't know what my life's gonna look like. I might need to figure some things out because the way my life is now, I'm just not happy with it. And so I always knew for me, education was my ultimate equalizer. Like I excelled really well in high school and middle school, and I knew that my education was going to be the catalyst for opportunity for me. And so I tapped back in. It was a struggle because, as I said, I was academically disqualified. And so I had to bust my tail to get back into the good grace of Palomar College to let me back into school. I mean, I had to write petition letters. I had to tap into foster youth services and have them advocate for me to get me back onto the campus. And once I was eligible, it was smooth sailings from there because I had a purpose. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I told myself, I told myself I'm gonna go to UCLA. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna get there some way or another. And I did, man. I did. I graduated from Palomar in 2017. Right after that, I went to Dominguez Hills, where I got my bachelor's in psychology in 2019. I graduated, and then right after that, I went to UCLA and got my master's in social welfare. And then now I'm working on becoming an LCSW, and I'm almost there. Couple more 100 hours, and gotta pass my exams, and I'll be Joseph Burton LCSW.
Well, congratulations, and we know you're going to do that. So, but okay, so and you're the founder and executive director of an
Yeah,
awesome nonprofit. Let's talk about
yeah.
Hearts for Sight. Let's talk.
Yeah. So, one thing that's unique about me, and I don't carry myself as a person who lives with disabilities, but I have a retinal disease called retinitis pigmentosa. And really what it is, it's a light perception issue where the rods and cones in my retina are deteriorating. And so, at a young age, I was diagnosed at 16 years old, and I always thought like, wow, like, is this how people see at night? Because I had severe night blindness growing up, and I never knew why until I was 16 and I was told that, hey, you have this disease that eventually you're going to go blind from. And that was devastating because I already had lived a life in foster care that was already very challenging, and now to be told you're going to go blind, that was just tough to digest. And so I was diagnosed at 16. And then I didn't really start noticing my vision changing until I was about 24 years old, which was one of the motivators for me to get back into school to figure out, okay, what is life going to look like for me as a visually impaired person? I'm very motivated. I'm very driven. I'm very entrepreneurial. Like I love developing things, developing programs, developing services, helping people out. So I never wanted to lose my capacity or ability to do these things, but I knew that if I had gone blind, how could I continue, doing things that I'm passionate about? So I went to the Braille Institute down in San Diego, and I started to learn more about programs and services that are available in the blind community. And then I started realizing that there's some fundamental barriers with regards to health and wellness. I've always been a fitness enthusiast. I've always been someone who had a relationship with the outdoors and nature. And I've always had just a holistic approach to healing. And I saw that in the blind community that these types of services weren't available. And so if I'm a believer, if it's not available, then someone's got to develop it. And if it's not you, then hey, I took on that responsibility. And mainly it was because I wanted to see these things available for me. So should I ever go blind, I still want access to these things that some people take for granted. So I developed this program, Hearts for Sight, with the mission to break down barriers to health and wellness. It's a very grassroots organization that is led by people with lived experience serving other people who are experiencing blindness. And so some of the core programs that we offer is our ecotherapeutic program, which is a program that is grant funded by a number of different funders. And we take the blind and visually impaired out on outdoor exploration trips. So whether those are hikes, camps, fishing trips, botanical garden visits, trips on the open coast, we break down the barriers so that this population who has historically been isolated or indoors, really, we take them out and to have their rightful place in nature. Really proud of that program. I mean, anytime we have an outing, for example, we were in Newport this past weekend and I had 50 participants out there on outrigger paddling. And it's just great to see people who you might not, see out in the community because of their blindness. You see them engaging in some of the activities that a lot of us take for granted. So that's one program. And then I also have this mental health component, and this was a program that manifested after the pandemic. As a grassroots organization, we had to shut down some of our programs because we weren't able to interface with our community. And so we had to do things a little bit differently. And so during the pandemic, we created our mental health program, and we started it with providing support groups. And then that transitioned into providing psychotherapy, adjustment counseling in a one-on-one setting. And as we started to develop that program, we started to bring on more therapists to address our capacity. And unfortunately, there is not a lot of therapists out there who have the cultural competency or ability to support the blind and visually impaired. And so my program is unique because we have 4 clinical therapists providing support to individuals who are adjusting to blindness throughout California. So we serve folks from NorCal all the way down to Chula Vista, and our platform is facilitated via virtual space, just like how we're talking right now. And if the virtual space doesn't work for the client, we meet them where they're at. So that might just mean having phone calls and facilitating the therapy over the phone. And so it's been a real blessing to have those 2 core programs. And then the third program we have is our online fitness, where we have certified personal trainers who also have lived experience providing classes such as yoga, Pilates, and group fitness activities. And all of these programs are combining together just to address health and wellness in a more holistic way. So
Wow. I've been around the whole United States. I've never heard anything like this. So
yeah.
all the babies you guys are serving are from the foster care system and blind too, or it's for the general public?
No, just it's a general public.
Okay.
I was working with the foster youth community as a younger man, like in my mid-20s, started a program at Palomar College that was, helping transition age foster youth become, successful and supported with their education. But since I moved up to Los Angeles, my focus has been on the blind and visually impaired. Yeah.
No, awesome,
Mhm.
awesome program, awesome program. So we
Mhm.
need to look in our budget, and we need to fund you guys. We need to make a donation to you guys to keep you
Yeah,
afloat.
hey, we
I
welcome
promise.
that. We
Yes,
welcome that.
right way. We'll make a commitment to you guys. But this is
Appreciate it.
awesome. So you've been through so much and you beat all the odds and you have an awesome
Hmm.
smile and you still look young. So I'm keep laughing because when you say when you're in your 20s, you still look like you're in your 20s. So stop it. You
Hey,
still
I
look young.
appreciate that.
Must
I just shaved this morning, so that's probably why. I ain't got the grays, the wise hair like you do yet, but it's coming though. I just shaved it off.
I don't know if there's wise hairs compared to stress hairs, but yeah,
Hey,
but
I know that life.
yeah,
Hmm.
but words of encouragement. We want to wrap it up. You have a great story. I mean, if anyone could here, if you could do it, anyone could do it. But you had to, really think it through. So give some wisdom, drop the
Right.
jewels for our folks.
Well, I'll tell you what. Our people in foster care, they're some of the most resilient people. You know that from
Yes,
the work that you do, right?
yes.
We are some of the most resilient people. And for me, my education has been my ultimate equalizer. Like, I never had a large financial, you know, I didn't have financial capital, but what I did have was social capital. And I was able to cultivate social capital through my educational pursuits, right? And so for me, passion, my resilience, my ability to network, my ability to communicate what I have experienced and use it as strength, right? Use it as power. I've been able to get people on my team, get people in my corner, and just talking about some of the goals, talking about some of the things that I like to do in my life and how I want to help other people. There's always someone who's going to gravitate towards that. But if you keep that information at bay, if you don't publicize that information, no one's ever going to know about it. And so for me, um, just speaking my program into existence helped, but a lot of it had to do with my education. A lot of it had to do with tapping into that resilience. Like, hey, there's going to be times where I'm going to fall, but I'm going to fall on my back so I can keep looking up, and that's just life right there. Life's going to knock you down, but you just got to keep getting back up. And that's just kind of been my life. I've been knocked down so many times, but never once did I say, hey, it's a wrap for me. So keep pushing on. That's my message. Keep pushing.
Well, Joseph, you blessed me personally today. We do several workshops weekly, and I haven't talked about
Hmm.
social capital in a long time. And that
Oh
we
man.
discussed that. I haven't brought up that subject in probably over a year, but you hit it on the
Yeah.
head. Yeah, social capital.
Yeah.
It is that
Yeah.
networking. Our foster youth, you're correct. Since 1995, not one of my foster babies have ever committed suicide, and they've been through the worst. Other people
Yeah.
can't deal with it. But yeah, the social capital, we need to keep reminding our youth about that.
I'm telling you. I'm
Thank you,
telling you.
Joseph.
It's yeah.
Well, let's
Yes, sir.
stay in touch. We will promote your foundation. Go ahead and give a shout out to your foundation where people can see it, donate, the website, all your media channels.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can find us on any social media platform. I'm an old head, so Instagram and Facebook are our go-tos. And our YouTube channel, you can find us at Heart for Sight Foundation. You could also find our website at www.heartforsightfoundation.org. There's opportunities for volunteerism. There's opportunities to donate, and we appreciate every ounce of support that we get.
So, audience, please support Brother Joseph. The right way will support Heart for Sight too. So, thank you, Joseph, and keep up the good work. And we got to bring you out and bring you in front of our students. Give a lecture coming up soon
Hey,
since you're in LA.
my my pleasure. It ain't nothing but a hop skip away, so I'm happy to come through.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in to another great podcast where our theme is to go from pain to power. We want to say peace, God bless, we're out.